Is your retirement plan really as safe as you think it is? Discover the hidden truths and shortcomings of traditional retirement planning that could jeopardize your future. Today, Rod and I are going to break down 5 shortcomings that you absolutely need to make sure to avoid if you want to have a successful retirement plan. And the first one, Rod, is an over-reliance on the stock market. This is one that we see all the time. So many people just assume that if they put some money away month after month in the stock market, it's just going to do the rest. Like the magic of compound interest is going to propel them to retirement. And in reality, that's just not enough. It's a good step, but it's not enough. And Rod, on that same front, it becomes even more problematic when I start to need to take money out and I'm relying only on the stock market because the downs hurt more than the ups help. So as I'm pulling money out of it, man, it just becomes hugely problematic to try to create the retirement plan that's safe and secure that I want if I'm completely relying on the stock market as my primary vehicle. Talk about shortcoming number 2, which is overcoming longevity, dealing with withdrawal strategy problems. Talk about it.
Yeah, I've always said that retirement planning would be easy if we knew how long we were going to live. The plan has to cover us no matter how long we live. And that becomes a real challenge for people as we've watched people and they're using this accumulation method, which just means that they're building up this large amount of assets that they'll just draw upon when they get into retirement, right? This whole withdrawal idea. So then the question is, well, how much is enough, right? And really, we can't answer that question because we don't know how long we're going to live. We don't know what inflation will be. Going back to your earlier point, we don't know what our returns are going to be in our investments. And so what we find is that people have this anxiety about how much is going to be enough. And even after they pick a number, so often they get close to that date where they're going to have to pull the plug, and it's really difficult for them to pull the plug because they just don't have the confidence that what they've done is going to be enough. Even if people felt good about it at the time, then they get into retirement and they're reluctant to live the way that they anticipated doing, taking the trips, buying the things, spending the time with family, gifts, whatever it might be that they envisioned would be their golden years. They're really reluctant to do that because, again, just that looming issue of what if I run out of money? Okay. So here are a couple of ideas. What if instead of only using the accumulation model, you actually created streams of income, cash flow that's coming off of investments like real estate or businesses or other things like that, or even annuities where you can create guaranteed streams of income to last the rest of your life no matter how long you live. It's a really effective way to adjust for this shortcoming of underestimating longevity.
One of the main culprits to this problem, Rod, is a concept, a teaching that we've been being fed for years and years, known as the 4% rule. Well, the 4% rule got busted on its head recently. It's even gone down since then, but that is a model that doesn't provide a lot of hope because it basically says that if I've got $1 million, then I can take $40,000 a year off of that and expect to not run out of money, hope not to run out of money. Well, that's not a model that gives people a lot of hope and excitement. And sadly, it's what too many people have been going out on. And so what happens, to your point, is they won't even spend their money because there's a fear of running out. There's a better way to do it. Listen to Rod, go accumulation style. Okay, shortcoming number 3 is neglecting healthcare costs. And this is one that not only is commonly overlooked, but it doesn't have a lot of great solutions, if we're being just very honest. And I think the reason is because things like long-term care planning are relatively new. And so most of the companies that provide insurance for it don't even know how to price it accurately, right? So what ends up happening is people buy long-term care insurance only to find that premiums continue to rise, they can't afford it, and ultimately drop it when they need it the most. Well, that's obviously not the solution. One of the solutions that we often talk about, which is better, is utilizing living riders in life insurance that'll basically accelerate the death benefit and give us an opportunity to take advantage of our death benefit while we're still living. There's some restrictions on that too, but it's ultimately, at least I know that I'm getting something out of it, right? So here's the deal. My advice to people is to make sure that you're planning around healthcare costs as early as you can. You've got to be thinking about the importance of healthcare costs because there's nothing that will derail us in our retirement more quickly than skyrocketing healthcare costs that we never expected to have to pay. And now retirement looks a lot different than we would have hoped it would. Hey, Rod, talk about shortcoming number 4, which is lack of flexibility in our retirement plans.
Yeah, this goes back to what we've been talking about in terms of the whole withdrawal plan and over reliance on the stock market. Because the problem is that we don't know what the future holds when they do all the Monte Carlo simulations and they come back and they say even the 4% rule fails 20% of the time if you live 30 years or more in retirement. This lack of flexibility is a huge issue. And in fact, I'll tell you about a video I saw, shocking. This is about 10 years ago, but it was a group that only uses this traditional retirement planning. And they said that, well, some people say that what if the stock market goes down and I'm in danger of losing money, or like the 20% that I just mentioned that actually runs out of money while they're still in retirement. And his solution for it was, you don't just drive into the brick wall, right? You make adjustments so that doesn't happen, so you don't run out of money. I'm thinking to myself, well, what are your options? If that's all you're in, then your only options are to take less. So don't run into the brick wall, just live like a pauper. Now you're in a place where you have a lot of different ways you can be flexible. That's critical. Again, if we knew what the future held, then we would know exactly how to do the planning, but we don't. So we have to build it with different ways that we can adjust as we go.
And finally, shortcoming number 5 is inadequate tax planning. This is a topic we hit on constantly because it's so critical. We all know that taxes are our biggest lifetime expense. And so if there's anything we can do to mitigate some of the taxes that we would likely have to pay, then we're going to be so much better off. I think about how much of a difference I can make by mitigating taxes today and the ability to grow that money over time. And so it ends up being a really critical piece of an effective retirement plan. The problem with traditional retirement planning is that twofold. Number one is we're now in bed with the government for the rest of our lives, and they make all the rules, right? They decide when we can take out money, how much we can take out without being taxed, how we can pass money on to the next generation. That's not the way that I want to go. The second reason is that taxes are likely lower today than they will be at any point in the future. If we look at all of the things that are going on in the economy, we've got this massive national debt, and it just continues to grow and grow and grow. And so anybody looking at the situation, you'd have to be blind to think, you know what, we're on the way to having lower taxes across the board. That's just not realistic. And if I believe that, and most people do, if I believe that taxes are lower today than they will be in the future, the only logical next step for me is to make sure that I'm taking advantage of the lower tax rate and taking control of my money so that I can do the things I want to in retirement. We'd love to know what you think about these 5 retirement shortcomings in the comments below.